Well, hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations, and I'm so glad that you're tuning in today. We are going to be working on a fall craft. So kind of a door hanger, or certainly you could hang on a wall or somewhere else in your home that makes sense. But specifically, I was thinking of kind of a door hanger. And for this, we are going to be using a bunch of fall decor leaves from the dollar store. And what I have done is I've taken just some scrap wood. I had these little triangular pieces, and all I have done is stapled them together just so that I had a little bit more of, I guess, a stronger surface to be able to work on and to be able to attach. What I'm looking at doing is making a gnome. So a gnome for the door rather than a wreath. And really just thinking of an alternative. I will probably be making some wreaths, but sometimes people want something a little bit different. So for this one, the first step is that we actually want to take, and I've got 3 bundles. So I have 2 of the yellow and 1 of kind of a darker, of the dark burnt oranges kind of color. And in essence, this is going to be the base of his beard. And so what I want to do is kind of lay these out, and I'm thinking, okay, glasses on, and where's my, somewhere under all of this. Okay. I want to sort of cut some of these away because I'm not going to need all of this length, right? So I'd like to have a little bit of the fullness on top. And so I'm just going to cut these lower branches away and give me a little bit more space to work from. So I'm going to take this little guy. Will be making it shorter down on this end too, but I just want to attach them first and then cut away the excess once I determine how much excess I have. So I am looking, as much as I will be using the hot glue gun, I'm really looking to start with just securing these pretty firmly with, I'm just kind of figuring out length here. Okay, so I am going to just kind of use my staple gun just so that they're nice and secure. And I'm going to attach once these are attached, and one of the reasons I did kind of a triangular base is because of the hat, right? I'm going to be adding the hat on, and I'm going to just do it with some burlap. And what I'm going to do is fold, I want to have a rim so that I can tuck flowers into it. So I'm going to fold this up and fold it under, and that becomes my hat base. And I'm gonna want my hat to run maybe this tall. So I'm going to be cutting my burlap just a little bit above that, just to give me a little bit of leeway. And then move this off to the side. Okay, and that gives me an idea as well where I'm going to be having to cut those off as I finish. Now, to start this, I'm going to actually glue this edge. I want to glue both these edges down before I start doing any other messing around with it. So I have my glue gun. Hopefully it's I was gonna say hopefully it's hot, but it just dribbled on me, so yep, that's hot. Okay. Now, the only thing that I urge you to be careful of when gluing burlap is that it's a fairly open weave, which means that when you're pushing it down to glue it, it can leak through quite easily. So just be a little bit careful of that. So let me move that off to the side while I do this. Make my life a little bit easier. Very quickly. And then I'll do the other side of it. So what I'm looking at doing is having this coming down about here. So I want it coming a little bit lower than my wood and a little bit lower than my leaves. We will start adding some to make them more full, right? But we're gonna tuck this under. There we go. And I'm going to want to, you know what, I'm gonna get out my staple gun and just staple just that little bit. Okay, as it turns out, I couldn't get my staple gun to work. And rather than mess around with it, I just got out 2 carpet tacks and tacked it in place. I just wanted something right at the beginning to hold it a little bit stronger in place. And what I'm going to do is kind of roll this a little bit to kind of form the shape of that hat. So I am looking at the top here, and I'm gonna want these to end a little before I reach that point. Oh Lord, these babies are thick. So there we go, just wiggling back and forth. This is good. Yes, it's very satisfying. Okay, what I do have is I have a little bit of just thin kind of galvanized wire here. So I'm going to just cut off a little piece, and I'm just going to wire these up so that they sort of just stay together, stay in place. You could use a pipe cleaner just as easily. So don't, you know me, don't buy things that you don't need to buy. All right. So I've got that down. So I'm gonna glue that part down. So I'm not futzing with it continually. And I want a finished edge at the top just so that it doesn't start fraying, right? Especially if somebody's got this on their door. So this becomes my glue spot, but I'm going to glue this down in. And then glue it over a bit. And then this in. And then we'll glue this over. And then we're going to push really hard and hold it. Now, if we turn it back over, what I do want to do also is just take a little bit of that wire. See how this kind of, you can see how his beard kind of spreads out a little bit. I just kind of like it to taper a little bit more. So I'm going to take a little bit of that wire. And just sort of take a thin piece of it. And just sort of loop it around. Just roughly hold those together. And this galvanized wire is so thin, you're not even going to see it. I just want to make sure my leaves are all hanging how I'd like. Okay, perfect. Let's get those all out. And now what I want to do is just kind of fill it in a little bit, right? I just want it to be a little less sparse looking, both at the top and down here. So I have the extra leaves that I had taken out. So some of those branches that I had cut off, I can use as filler now. I can tuck up in and glue and just have just a little bit more happening in some of those spots. So I'm gonna take care of doing that. So both kind of up toward the top here, and then down in the middle a little bit too. Now, I've left some leaves still because I want to get his nose in place before I start adding more leaves, just so I see if I need some around his nose. So what I do have is a wooden dowel topper. So you'll see these on the ends of, you know, if you have a wooden curtain rod, or just at the top of dowels, maybe for paper towel dispensers, that sort of thing. So we are going to stick this up in place. Now, if you don't have these, you could take like a little nylon, and you could just stuff it with, to open it up so it's flat, stuff it with, well, you know what? I'm debating whether that nose is as big as I want anyway. So let's make a bigger nose together, and then we'll decide. We'll decide which one we want. So, those toes have a seam. Okay, so this little band I save for other things. You know me. All right. We're just cutting off a piece, put the rest aside, and now I'm going to open it up. And you could tie off one end and then tie off the other after you stuff it. But I only want one stuffing hole. So what I'm going to do is this. You're going to open it up. So I just have my little polyfill stuffing, right? I'm going to kind of push it so that it's got a smooth outside edge. And I'm going to stick it in the middle of my nylon. And I'm going to try and pull, and this is where nylon's being nice and stretchy kicks in, right? And this was just a knee-high from the dollar store. So I buy them because I will use them in my painting. So for applying some poly finishes. And then I'm just going to twist it. I think that's going to be better. I like the bigger nose on him. So we're going to twist it, and I'm just going to tie it off with a little bit of cord. You could make it even bigger. Okay, so we're just going to wrap this around a couple of times. Pull it tight. and then tie a knot. So this is a great way to make big noses, little noses, whatever you need for some of your projects, especially if you don't have some of the wooden beads to do it, or when they're not the right size, right? And so his nose now, yeah, that's much better. Nice big nose for him. So we are going to now glue this baby in place. Okay, and I'm going to want to push him up in there. So I'm going to want glue along the rim, and glue down in here, and glue all over the bottom. Perfect. Okay, much better. And this is why I held some of those leaves in reserve, because I'm going to want to, you're not attached anyway, I'm going to want to add some of those in around the nose to kind of fill it in a little bit. Okay, now we want to zhuzh up his hat a little bit. So what I do have is a little bit of kind of jute, kind of burlap tone cording, and I'm going to glue that around the top rim. So still kind of staying in those natural colors. And I'll glue it around the front, but I have cut it long enough that it will wrap around the back. Okay. There we go. Just flip him over. Okay, so the two things that we want to do is I want to kind of decorate him down in here and then do a little something at the top of his hat. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'll take maybe some of these little these little leaves, and then I have one big sunflower that we'll put up on his hat, right in there. And then we'll maybe do like another little floral, but in that darker burgundy color that I have happening here with the leaves. So we want to get these attached. And I'm just giving them a little bit of space because that sunflower is going to take up a lot of space. And I want these to still kind of stick out and be seen. So I'm leaving some real estate for that flower. There we go. And now we're going to take this and we're going to try and cut it down a little bit lower, but you just have to be careful with some of these that if you cut it too low, then it has nothing to hold it together anymore. So let's see about gluing it. Oh. It's a little bit three-dimensional in the back here, so. Now for the top, I do have this big kind of orange colored one because I want it to contrast with the little flower, but it's too big for what I need. So I'm just going to cut it down a little bit, glue it in place first. Then I'm going to take this more burnt orangey one glue it overlapping. And then I'm going to take my flower right in the center. And again, maybe a little tighter. Okay, now you can add hanging hardware onto the back of this, and you have a couple of options. So you could just sew it down through here. You could have glued one in before you close the hat. You could attach it onto the wood, so you've got it here. So depending upon where you're placing it, but this is what he ends up looking like on your door. So just a cute little different kind of look as a door hanger than just a wreath. So something a little bit different and just kind of cute, little fall gnome. Let me know what you guys think of this one as always. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.